Hawaii is a paradise. That's how it exists in the imagination. I think it's really important that we get beyond the postcard. Otherwise, that's all you'll see and all you'll expect. What the postcard doesn't show you is the reality of being a Hawaiian woman. We come from a place that is deeply pained. If you are Hawaiian, you are more likely to be incarcerated, more likely to die early, more likely to be undereducated, more likely to be marginalized, more likely to be without land, more likely to not speak your language, all the more likelies.
The stereotype is erasing the reality. If we look at the postcards, the tourism advertisements, even the filmmaking industry, I mean, all Tahitian women should be young, athletic, slim with a BMI under 25, lustful and sexy. Obviously, if you see that image and take it for account, I'm no Tahitian woman at all.
And it has been very damageable for all women in the Pacific. My grandmothers and ladies before me, we are all living the consequences of this representation.
There's the expectation that you act a certain way, that you are a certain way, that you're always happy, that you're always peaceful, that you don't resist, and that you see a rise in sexual violence, in sex trafficking, because there is that expectation that you're there to service.
That creates in young Pacific women like me this lack of trust in foreigners coming, and so we want to avoid any contacts with them.
There are still huge disparities for Pacific women across the Pacific, including here in Aotearoa. We are the most poorly represented in so many of the statistics, whether that be the pay disparities, whether that be health outcomes. And so there's so much work to do.
I'm very vocal about being raised by a single mum on the benefit. Moving over 20 times across Tamaki, experiencing homelessness, being in a refuge, those kind of things are my reality and so many people's realities. It's tough out here. Thousands of our young people are working 20 to 50 hours a week to help their families make ends meet, and they're made to feel shame. But there's a thing not only with poverty, the material poverty, there's poverty of aspiration.
Media is hugely responsible for how we have conditioned people to believe what is acceptable in the way we talk, the way we look, the way we think, and reframed who we are in a way that's not a correct and true representation.
And if we think about it, the largest populated countries in the Pacific are Papua New Guinea, Solomon Islands, Vanuatu, and Fiji as well. But we are not as represented in the media. But you feel invisible. Even if you look at music videos, TV, what tends to be promoted is the fine features, not a broad nose like mine.
And like, that's not what I look like. But not seeing that is like not very representative of who we are as Melanesia.
The first Polynesian kind of blockbusters like Return to Paradise, etc., the key dusky maiden was actually Palangi or Afakasi.
I would tell you something strange. Before I saw you, all white men looked the same to me.
That's what white men say about you people.
And then what that did over time, because this was something that they had seen again and again and again, was it created this mentality that slightly whiter skin was actually more beautiful.
Have you heard of the brown paper bag test? You know, you hold up a brown paper bag, and if you're darker than the brown paper bag, then, you know, there's like a stigma around that. It's a whole thing rooted in colorism.
I think along you see us Melanesian women is closer to like African Americans. When I go for casting agents and then they're like, can you do an American accent? Can you do a British accent? Because that would like up your chances of getting cast. I feel like I have to like work twice as hard to put myself out there for it.
I acknowledge my privilege of being lighter skin, and even as a plus-size woman, I'm an acceptable form of plus size. And so I acknowledge that when spaces market themselves as diverse, I'm probably the girl that they're going to go with.
I think about colorism, I think about fat-phobia in our communities. Both of those things depend on how close are we to this thin, you know, pale person. The way that capitalism and colonialism thrives is off shame. And so we're made to feel that we're not enough. And the beauty industry makes billions of dollars off us feeling not enough.
And that has painted a picture of us that has lingered, not only in the minds of the coloniser, but in our own interpretation of ourselves.
If you think about Hollywood and the way that Hollywood glamorized the hula girl, that helped to heighten this image in the Western imagination. But it also helped to heighten that image in the Pacific imagination as well.
I struggle against those representations, even in our mind.
Our own families do it to us, and it can be really damaging. I remember when my sister was born, everyone was just obsessed with her because she's very fair. And so she was like the favourite child because she was just light-skinned and everyone loved her and she has blue eyes. And it really like instilled in me this really weird feeling of like, oh, how come my sister gets all these beautiful comments and everyone wants to take her out and do things with her, and I've been here for this many years and no one's done that to me.
My mum really, I love her. And she really tried to keep me into this, you know, stay out of the sun. Stay out of the sun, don't get too dark, oil on the skin, oil on the hair. But look, I've got heritage from Fiji and my hair is like super tight coils that just won't listen to what I wanted to do. You know, like you go through those moments where you just wish you weren't in this body, in this skin.
Well, when we moved to Samoa and I went to school, and I didn't realise just how bad it was being darker than other Samoans. I never knew you could get called burnt toast. And burnt toast basically means you're too dark, you know? When there's burnt toast, they normally scrape off all the blackness, you know, to get the toast that you can eat. Sometimes you were just called Meauli. And Meauli generally means black thing.
Meauli. Like, I'm proud of my skin color, so how am I going to defend myself while also trying to relay that it doesn't bother me that my skin is the way that it is, but it bothers me the way that you use that term and the way that you hope it affects me. How uncomfortable is it to talk about this subject? It's very uncomfortable. And I think it just goes back to that whole insecurity of, do I even have the right to talk about this? Is this even an important topic? Boo-hoo, poor little brown girl. If you're not being hurt physically, you know, bleeding over it, is it something to even worth discussing? A girl's sense of self-worth, it's already quite vulnerable. To kind of say that someone is lesser than just because of the color of their skin. What do you do to a little brown girl when you tell her that she's not good? You destroy her sense of being loved. You create a void within her heart and her soul that she'll start finding different ways, all the wrong ways to fill that void. And you shape a woman that's willing to take love and affirmation in any form, even if it's a hurtful or dysfunctional form.
It is a type of sadness, then, that we aspire to beauty standards we didn't create. Pacific Island judgment based on appearance, again, is really something that we've inherited. That's it, really.